CD Projekt Red's motto and creed is ready when it's done. And that could honestly be the end of this video. The very first glimpse we got of Cyberpunk 2077 back in 2012 was a CG trailer of a neon technic futuristic game based on an 80s board game. It was coming from a developer who at that time had not yet released their breakout success that would be The Witcher 3. And at the end of this first look were those words. And put very simply, CD Projekt Red released Cyberpunk 2077 before it was done. They deliberately hid its performance on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One consoles from reviewers. They manipulated the review process, ensuring positive reviews, in effect, using reviewers and journalists to peddle their deception. They, at least initially, did not ensure those who wanted a refund could get one. And they lied about how the game played, and they knew it didn't work. That's disappointing. Right off the top, we have to make the distinction between the developers who spent almost a decade creating this game and management who made decisions regarding its marketing and release. The developers at CD Projekt Red poured their time, heart, and soul into this game. CD Projekt Red, the business, lied, manipulated, and failed. Few games were more anticipated. Few had the following. Few companies had built up so much goodwill, and few companies lost it so fast. I'd love to review Cyberpunk 2077. I'd love to dive deep into Night City to find all kinds of trouble. I want to meet interesting characters and fight a seedy underbelly. But I can't. I literally cannot do those things. I cannot play this game on my PlayStation 4. It doesn't work properly. I can attempt to play, but even the sound lags as it flashes through company logos on startup. Load times are slow, and when I do get going, textures are long behind me. I, like many others, have experienced crashes during seemingly innocuous moments of walking around. Frame rates drop to single digits at times. Combat is sloppy and unresponsive. Driving is laggy and difficult. And then there are bugs. Now, bugs are a normal occurrence in every game. Some games also crash from time to time. In a game with the size and scope of Cyberpunk 2077, there could almost be an expectation of these issues. CD Projekt Red's previous game, The Witcher 3, was plagued with bugs and problems when it was released. However, a bug implies an action the game takes that is obviously against the intentions of the developers. So like when a character walks through a wall, or an asset is thrown into the air, or maybe an action button isn't working. Unless the game is built around and is about faulty hardware, unnatural physics, and holographic structures, these actions are not the intentions of the game's developers. I only say this because Cyberpunk 2077, in its current state on last-gen consoles, fails to even indicate what the developers' intentions are. It's an electronic-based world. You have chips in your head. The hacking is a gameplay element. So frame rate stutters could almost be written off as immersive. Pop-in could work for holograms in the city. But of course, that's just not the case here. Because most gamers will experience Cyberpunk 2077 on an Xbox One or PlayStation 4 console, I'd say a majority of them won't know what CD Projekt Red's intentions even are. The picture is just too blurry right now. That's disappointing. And before the argument is made that Cyberpunk is really a next-gen game, and if you're trying to play it on a last-gen console, it's really your own fault, let's remember some facts. It was announced a year before the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 were released. Their original release date was well within those consoles' lifetime. Even with the delays, it was only the final ones that pushed it into the Xbox Series and PlayStation 5 lifetime. And even so, it was barely a month, and considering how difficult it is to find a new console right now, I'd say the last gen is still alive and kicking. There's even a Cyberpunk 2077 Special Edition Xbox One X. So yeah, that's very disappointing. The promises, the hype, the expectations are all so far from what this game is, it's hard to tell what it's supposed to be. Is it a large-scale open-world action game with RPG elements? Or is it an RPG set in what is supposed to be an adaptive, interactive, and sprawling metropolis? There can be arguments made for both. But it doesn't matter. It's not finished. There's half a dozen articles expressing how this is an example of a broken, unsustainable industry, teetering on the brink of collapse. How expectations are impossibly high and market pressure so powerful that a good game is a miracle if it ever gets released. There are those arguing that games should be getting smaller, cheaper, and more focused. That developers should be a master of a few elements and stop trying to make everyone happy by promising the world. Others say that a great game all comes down to leadership, direction, and time. That with the right guidance and talent, amazing things can be made. And I think both are true. But I don't think there's going to be a definitive answer anytime soon. Some are bringing up comparisons to No Man's Sky, released in 2016. They too promised the world. The universe, actually. Hello Games said gamers would be explorers to new worlds procedurally generated to create environments unknown and unplanned. That we would be discovering an endless catalog of creatures and plants. And when it was released, those claims were simply not true. No Man's Sky was far less expansive or impressive as was previously insinuated, and the backlash was swift and aggressive. But Hello Games did something nobody thought they could. They fixed it. Over the last 4 years, No Man's Sky has evolved into something much closer to what was promised. Free updates and improvements have made it the marvel it was always meant to be, and with a small team to boot. And now, at the 2020 Game Awards, No Man's Sky won Best Ongoing Game. So broken games can be fixed. Cyberpunk 2077 is in no way dead forever. But CD Projekt Red has already lost so much. Release day is gone. The one moment everyone is focused on your game when even the larger sites and papers do a story on it. The story wasn't that the most anticipated game of the year was released to acclaim. It was that the most anticipated game of the year wasn't working, and that Sony had to pull it from its store. Moving forward, some gamers will never leave, enjoying every update. Some will leave, but they'll come back when it's finally ready for real this time. But then there are some who will never return, no matter what. And that's really disappointing, because I'm sure there's a good game in there somewhere. I know the developers worked hard on it, and I'm excited to properly see what they made. But I can't do that. And that is very disappointing. I hope Cyberpunk 2077 slowly rises from these ashes, that it proves what it can do. I hope the world of Night City is as immersive and detailed as they say, and I hope everyone gets a chance to see it. As soon as I can, I'll be thrilled to dive back in. But in their message to fans in June 2020, CD Projekt Red released a statement, delaying the game once again. Unfortunately, it seems they've very quickly forgotten their own words. They said, "For those of you familiar with the way we make games, know that we won't ship something which is not ready. Ready when it's done is not just a phrase we say because it sounds right, it's something we live by, even when we know we'll take the heat for it." And that is disappointing.